Welcome to the Couple-preneurs Show, helping couples in business develop structure and strategies that nurture the balance between business and home, bringing you interviews and insights to give you the secret sauce of power couples. Here are your hosts, Oscar and Kiya Frazier.
Beautiful people, are you an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, or perhaps you are the husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend of an entrepreneur? If any of those things fit within your bucket, this show is absolutely for you.
Hello. A quick second just to acknowledge our sponsors for this show. Talk Shirt to Me, shirts that speak, cool designs that help you express yourself. You can find them at talkshirttome.com. It's spelled exactly how it sounds. And Carolina Runners, a family-owned trucking company. If you're an owner-operator looking for an authority, check them out. You can find them at carolina-runners.com. Again, that's carolina-runners.com.
Excellent. So today, we actually have some special guests. And it's actually nobody at all, because you're going to be listening to myself and Kiya telling you a little bit about our story and how we got into entrepreneurship and some of our ups and downs. But before we do that, Kiya, where the hell did we even get started at? How did we start this conversation?
I think we take them back to the beginning. You know what? Okay. A good place to start would be the engagement.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's start there. So I almost ruined the engagement party. It was supposed to be a surprise birthday / engagement party. Oscar had set it all up, got my family and my friends there. And I was having a girl moment, a woman moment, and I couldn't find anything to put on. I couldn't get my hair right. My makeup was looking crazy. And I was literally at the verge of just saying, you know what, just call it all off. I'm not going. So what I thought it was just us going to have dinner for my birthday. That's what I initially thought it was. And so Oscar's, outside the door, like, Kiya, come on, we have a reservation. Let's go. And I'm just like, I don't like the way this fits. And I feel like a sloth. And, I said sloth. But I just felt terrible. I didn't feel, nice and sexy and pretty like, women like to feel when they're going out. So that caused a little bit of friction. We get into the car. We had a little bit of an argument. And then I had to remind myself, hey, Oscar's trying to do something nice for you. Calm down. So, I'm feeling a little frustrated when we get to the restaurant, walk in the door, and everybody jumps out. Surprise! It just blows me away. And I think all of that frustration and everything just kind of went out the door from that point on. And we were in there, we were having a good time, having some drinks and talking. And we're just about to get taken back to sit down at the table for dinner. And Oscar walks up and gets on one knee and proposes. And I cried. I ugly cried, actually. It was a very nasty, ugly cry. But it was tears of joy and happiness. And, fast forward to January of 2012, because our engagement didn't last long. It was a 6-month engagement. Yeah. And now, you know what? Now that I think back, you had brought that up when we were in the bathroom at one point. Yeah.
My whole thing was, if we're going to get married, I didn't, and I still don't really look at, at the word fiance as like a title. That's like a transition. Yeah. Right. So I didn't want to say, well, the next step from, being boyfriend and girlfriend is that now we're fiancés and we do that for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It was more so like, would you want to get married? Yeah. And so, it was a 6 months turnaround kind of scenario.
Kudos to you, because that completely went over my head. I didn't even know that was in prep for what you had planned. But, okay. So fast forward, we're in January of 2012. We got married. Couple of days back from our honeymoon, I get a phone call from my boss and from HR, and I'm being told that I'm being let go, which was a devastating blow for me. We had these great plans already in place. We, had this dual income coming into the household, and, we were entrepreneurs at heart, but, we had those corporate jobs.
Yeah. And just like most people that are probably listening to this, if you think back to when you first started your business, or if you're still on that journey right now to starting your business, like that trajectory is one, is difficult, but most importantly, most people are going to still be in a full-time corporate job, and they're trying to build
do both.
that business or that dream, and that's exactly where we were. And so, I mean, it was a lot of times when we did have everything mapped out. I mean, I think then we already wrote like a business plan for like this restaurant, which we'll probably talk about in a little while. And then we had already had all these great ideas. In fact, we even planned out how many kids we were going to have and when we were going to have them. So all this stuff was happening. And then less than 48 hours from getting back from honeymoon, Kiya got fired. You know, and it was devastating. I remember sitting inside the living room, you know, just looking at each other like, okay, what do we do now? Right?
There's these feelings of being scared and being nervous and being devastated, all wrapped up into one bubble, you know, and we're sitting there and we're talking through it. And we came to the conclusion that, I could go get another corporate job, but why not use this as an opportunity to start building the business that we have been dreaming about?
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people, well, let me speak from the male side, right? We had just gotten married, and in my mind, as the quote unquote, and yes, I'm using the air quotes, even though you all can't see me. You know, most men are taught to be the protector, the provider, etc. Right? So when you told me that you had just gotten let go, I had to put on this manly face of like, well, this is just all we have to do now, is get started on the business. But on the backside of that was pure fear, you know, going away and having to kind of shed a few tears, because now it's like, what do we do now? What about all of the plans, right? And so again, I mean, this show is not designed for when the star, moon, and sun all aligns and everything happens perfectly. That's just not reality in entrepreneurship, right? So we kind of initially got thrown into it, right? I mean, when Kiya, when you got let go, you know, we had to make a decision. Were you going to go back into corporate, or were you going to go ahead and start a business? And I still remember the first business plan that we actually charged someone for. Remember we sat in the living room. We didn't even know how much we were going to charge.
We didn't know.
We had no idea, and we really didn't even know what type of quote unquote consulting we were going to be doing. I mean, it was literally like trial by fire. It was like, let's get in there. Let's see what we can do. Let's try to make something happen. Now, on the backside of this, you know, at my corporate space at that time, I had just landed a large contract with the well-known bank in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and you know, I was waiting on getting some of the residuals. Right, so you're waiting on those checks to come in for some of the larger checks that we wanted to at that time we actually needed. We needed the money at that time, and so. As Kiya was building in demand, I started getting some good checks coming in. Luckily, all those checks did clear. So we started saving up some money. But, you know, in addition to that, one of the problems that I think I was facing was trying to manage my household the same way that I manage programs and projects and portfolios. And I remember how difficult it was.
That was a hard time at that point, because it was kind of like, wait a minute, you know, how do you separate the two, right? How do you separate the business and, you know, having your husband kind of, you know, coming down on you for forgetting to do something or forgetting to file this paperwork or, you know, those type of things, and then roll over into the intimacy part of being married. Right.
Also, so in the first couple months of marriage. And mind you, me telling you the story about, you know, what was happening over at the bank and the good checks that were coming in, this was still only about 90 days into our marriage. You know, so at that point, we were saying to ourselves, well, we probably need to move into a place that we own. Right. So we started looking at some condos and things like that. And we didn't have enough money to necessarily go get like some, you know, huge house or some huge condo. So we said, look, let's see if we can find a refurbished, whether we have to refurbish or perhaps a foreclosed condo.
And we did a great job. I just want to a shout out to us for what we did with that condo that we found. When we first moved in, the kitchen was red kitchen, black cabinets, I think it was. And then the bathroom was like a Cookie Monster Smurf kind of bluish white thing going on in the bathroom. So we we really made it our own.
Yeah. And so at that time, I think we were able to save up some money, and we found the foreclosed condo. I think it was $108,000. We went to the realtor, said, "Look, we got some cash. We want to buy this place in cash." And so we did that. I think we had dropped maybe another 30 or 40,000 into just to make the place livable.
Yeah.
And so once we did all that, we finally moved in there, and there you have it. Now, after we moved into this new condo and we were finally starting to settle in to some level of entrepreneurship, right? So Kiya was doing the day-to-day entrepreneurship thing, and I was still working the contract that I had with the bank. And one day, one of the executives over at the bank said to me, "Oscar, we're going to have to make some cutbacks." And so I said, "Okay, how many people are we talking about? When do we need to do this?" And what they told me was, "We're going to have to let go of everyone on your team." Now, at that time, I had about 147 FTEs or employees across the United States. And they wanted me to do this on one phone call, because the folks that know about large corporations know that typically when they do layoffs in mass, it won't be like, let me give one person a call at a time. So it will be one, group call. Everyone will be, rolled off. By the time you leave out of the meeting, all of your equipment is then shut off. All this stuff usually happens. And in my circumstance, because I had really built relationships with a lot of the people that worked for me, I actually elected to call each one by one.
Yeah.
And I remember how grueling that was, and just how traumatic it was talking to people, as they were, asking questions like, well, what do I do now? What do I tell my family, now that, I don't have a job?
Right.
And it was a very scary time. Now, the next day, or maybe this was maybe 2 days later, it was 2 days. It was like 2 days after I let the last person go. I then got a call into the office, and I was let go. They told me, "Thank you for your time. God bless you. Good night."
Yeah.
And I was up out of there. And I remember calling Kiya. And as I walked back into my office to start packing up all my shit, I say to Kiya, Kiya, are you ready to do this full time, or this entrepreneurial thing full time?
Yeah.
And she said yes. And I think she knew, but by the sound of my voice, come pick me up. I just got let go.
Yeah.
And all of this happened within the first 90 days or so of being married.
But I would go out on a limb and say that afternoon was one of the most life-changing afternoons for the both of us.
Yeah.
And I think once we really sat down and we talked about what had just happened, over the last 9 months, and we really kind of discussed what we wanted to do. We started getting very transparent at that point with each other.
Yeah.
And I think that is what determined that we were not going to go and try to seek out corporate jobs. We were going to make this thing work, and we were by any means necessary, and we committed to it. We took that leap and we committed.
Absolutely did. And I remember, as this journey continued to grow and to kind of morph, we started to figure each other out a little bit more, right? Because we started understanding that, okay, Oscar, you cannot manage the house the same way that you manage projects, right? And Kiya started realizing that there were things that she had to do to change and to morph and to grow into these entrepreneurs. And so I remember when we got our first contract as just entrepreneurs, right? And that was when we were looking at some of the staffing stuff. So those that don't know, our background, came from essentially the federal space.
Yes.
We both were in program project management. Kiya was heavy on the business development, proposal writing, and marketing side of the house.
Yeah.
And when we were first doing our consulting, we were just doing little odd jobs, like little small proposals here, business plans here, etc. But when we landed the first big one, I remember that feeling. I remember what that felt like. And what it was a staffing opportunity with some federal agencies that are highly classified. And we were able to land that. And it was with another we were a subcontractor to a very large, consulting firm in the DC area. And that was kind of what kind of catapulted us to realizing that we had made the right decision.
Right. It gave us more confidence. It kind of boosted us to know that, okay, we can do this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we didn't turn back from that point. I think there was that nervousness of not really knowing. It was just me and you and two laptops, and we were just like, okay, we've landed this contract. Oh my God, what now?
Hell, in the beginning it was one laptop.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
Yeah,
you only had one, and it was an old laptop at that. The power cord barely worked on it, so the thing it was shut off on it sometimes.
Yeah.
So, that was the stuff we were going through to try to build this business.
Talk about nitty gritty.
Oh man. Yeah. You give us a couple of cocktails, we probably could tell you a whole lot more stories. Yes. But so kind of fast forwarding, right? So at that point we were kind of smooth sailing. Things were working out pretty good with the business, but our relationship was up and down, right? It was a lot of up and downs because we had gotten so ingrained in trying to build a business, trying to survive. Because again, in our scenario, we kind of got thrusted into this, right? We knew we wanted to do entrepreneurship eventually, but we never knew it was going to happen this quickly in the way that it did. And if you think about most of the people that are highly successful, they tend to have a jump story or a push story, right? Where it's like something happened and I had no choice.
Right. I was down to my last $7.
Right. And if I didn't make this leap, it was not going to happen for me. And so from 2012 to 2015, we were doing the staffing. We were doing a lot of small business consulting, helping a lot of companies launch and open. But then we went back to our original dream.
That passion.
And that passion, which was to open up a restaurant.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be Shug's Juke Joint.
Yep.
So if those that may have heard of or seen the movie, which I'm sure you probably have, The Color Purple, there was a juke joint that was in that movie that we absolutely loved, right? And so we were going to call it Shug's. And it was going to be a booze, blues, and barbecue spot, right? And so we went back to that business plan, which we had actually wrote 5 years prior to launching it.
Yes.
So in 2010 was when we actually wrote that business plan. And so in 2015, we sat down with a good friend of mine, of ours, Dorian, a great realtor in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. He owns On Point Partners. Yeah. I believe is his company's name. And so really, really excellent guy, walked us through the whole process of looking at commercial real estate. And what he also did which was a great idea, he had sat us down with another group. So we all sat down and we decided to open up this restaurant. Now, Kiya, we're keeping it at 100. We know that the restaurant kind of morphed from our business plan. Yeah. Right.
So it went from being Shug's to Blue Notes.
Yeah. Totally different.
And then just the size and the magnitude of what we envisioned to what we actually ended up going into was completely different.
Yeah.
We're talking about
by a landslide.
Yeah.
The business plan had 5,000 square feet was the max for the restaurant. And we ended up getting a 12,000 square foot restaurant.
Essentially 3 restaurants in one.
Yeah. So it was very, very, it was a lot. It was very ambitious to say the least. So when we finally closed on the restaurant, we opened it up. It was so exciting. We were just excited to do it. We had gotten a partner that joined in with us for us to do it. I think at that point, before we opened up the doors, we had already sank probably about $350,000 in cash on our end. Yeah. On the restaurant. Yeah. And on our partner's end, I think he had sank in about $340,000-$50,000 as well, because there was a lot of upfit that had to happen, etc. When you're dealing with a restaurant of that magnitude, you're going to run into all types of problems. Now, the reality is, some nights we would walk in there and it would be the most beautiful time, and we would say, we know exactly why we did this. Right. But there were other nights.
Many of other nights.
We walked in and we said, why in the what did we do this?
Thinking, oh my God. Yeah. We had those days where we were just like, why? Why do we do this?
Yeah. And I remember the first couple months of the restaurant being open and just how much sleep deprived we were. And we thought it was going to end soon. We thought, it's got to get better. It can't stay like this. It's going to get crazy.
We were averaging about 2 hours of sleep?
If that. Yeah. Sometimes we'd be in there almost overnight at the restaurant trying to get things ready for the next day. And I remember during that time, if you think about maybe the first 6 months to a year we were there, the money was coming in. I think the first year we did right around $1.4 million. Yeah. But the problem was the amount of stress but it was causing our marriage, and it was causing on just every aspect of our lives.
Right.
I would remember waking up in the mornings just kind of in a panic mode of like, what's about to happen? What's about to go wrong? And at some point, I think in late 2016, early 2017, Kiya and I began to burn out.
Yes.
And I remember just kind of like, we would only see each other in passing.
Yeah. Like one of us would be in the restaurant taking care of some things, and then literally would kind of change off. And it was like, hey, sweetie, hug, kiss real quick. And then we're out the door.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the night, about 12 or so, the other one would be coming home, and literally we're so exhausted and tired. It was literally like sleep 2 hours, get up and do it all over again.
And so sex wasn't even a topic during that time.
I don't. Yeah, it was no sex, no cuddling. I mean, we
were just trying to keep the damn restaurant open,
right?
And I remember we had a very well-known artist come and perform at our restaurant in early part of actually this was second quarter of 2017. And I remember everything kind of ended up being a disaster. A lot of things went wrong for that particular performance, and we ended up feeling like we got shorted out of what we had invested in. And when we left out that night, I knew in the back of my mind that it was over. Yeah. I knew that it was either going to have to be the restaurant or our marriage. Yeah. And it really wasn't, those that are listening, I mean, you ever get to those points where it's either like there is no gray area. It's like it's either left or right. There is no middle.
That's what we
that's where we found ourselves. And it was a very, very scary time. And I remember walking into the room to Kiya, and I said, Kiya, I'm ready to shut the doors.
Yeah, I had checked out.
Yeah, Kiya already been.
I probably checked out maybe a week before that, but I was muscling through and kept telling myself it'll get better. This is just a bad week, Kiya. And I just remember being so frustrated. And I remember standing in the bathroom one morning, and I cried. Like literally was standing in the bathroom crying from frustration. Yeah. And I think after that event, it was just like I checked out. I was numb. And the next morning when Oscar came in and he was like, that's it, I think there was a sigh of relief and also devastation at the same time at that point, because it's like it didn't go the way we wanted it to go, and it felt like a fail. Yeah. Yeah. It felt like a fail.
And that was what, and I'm sure other entrepreneurs can relate to. When you have to shut the doors on something or you have to close something, it is that initial notion of I failed is hard to overcome when you're building something. But I also will say this. When we turned in those keys, that was the most fulfilling time as well.
It was.
Because it felt like we were getting ourselves back.
Yes.
And so sometimes failure is actually a good thing, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm moving on from this. It's time for me to go do something else, and knowing when to kind of pull the plug on things.
And I'll say in those weeks following us handing over the keys, not only did we start to get our health back, we started to get our marriage back. We started working on ourselves to make sure that we were being the best people that we could be for each other. But I think we also came to the realization that was the hardest thing that we have ever done. And we started looking at the nuggets of success and the positive things that we learned through that experience. Yeah. And then it was like, shoot, we can build anything at this point.
Exactly.
We got that confidence boost, like, yo, we can build any business that we set our minds to at this point.
Precisely it, man. And I remember after we shut the doors, we started looking at Charlotte and was saying, well, have we already outgrown Charlotte? Yeah. And then we decided to let's go ahead and make a move. And I remember just moving to Atlanta, where we are now, was something that kind of happened on a whim as well. It was we outgrew Charlotte. Yeah. We didn't want to move back to DC because DC was like the federal space. We kind of wanted to, and it was very, very expensive in DC. Yeah. I mean, when we were there, we were living in Crystal City. And when we closed the restaurant, we essentially were down to very little. We had burned. I mean, I'd say in the very beginning, we had spent over $350,000. Right. And by the time we closed the doors, we probably had sank well over $1 million into Blue Notes. Yeah. So we said, look, it's time to sell our house. Because, there's a lot of stuff we didn't tell you, right? Which, again, over a cocktail, we can tell you more. But, when we were in the condo, we had bought a house. And the house is beautiful home in the close to Harrisburg area, right outside of Charlotte. And we decided to sell the house.
Yeah.
And we weren't sure if it was going to sell or not. But in the second day that it was on the market, someone gave us the offer for the asking price.
Right.
And so then we said, oh, holy shit, this is real.
Yeah.
Are we really moving to Atlanta?
Yeah.
And I remember when we moved to Atlanta, we only had maybe only a couple $1,000s left.
So we had gone from a dual income to losing both of those incomes to building back up and being where we could do just about anything we wanted to do.
Yep.
And then we put all of that into a dream of ours and lost it, you know, and now here we are at this point where we are actually the happiest that we've been in a long time.
Yeah.
But we have to rebuild.
Exactly. Yeah. And in 2017, we did just that.
Yeah.
We came to Atlanta with only a couple $1,000s left. And unfortunately, you know, the apartment that we moved into, they had messed up our contract. So, you know, the couple $1,000s that we did have, they hit us with an additional fee to have to move in the day we moved in. So we didn't even have enough money to move into the apartment. And I remember calling my sister, who I love to death, you know, Lanice Kiya Frazier. And she, I had to borrow money. Yeah. I had to say, Kiya, I need $1,800 right now, or we're going to have to sleep in this U-Haul that we had drove down. We moved everything down thinking we were moving in. Yeah. And luckily she had it and she was able to get it to me through was Western Union or something like that. And I went and picked up the money, paid the apartment, and we were able to move in. And when we got here, it was like we had this determination that we were never going to let this happen us again. We were never going to lose all of our money. We were going to be smart investors, smart entrepreneurs, and that's exactly what we've done. Yeah. You know, and now our company is thriving. You know, we are in the global crisis management space, still in the federal space as well. But we have a plethora of other entrepreneurial paths that we're on. We're in the trucking industry. We also have a clothing line. So there's a lot of things that we do, but our passion really lies in what we're talking to you all about today. Yeah. And that's in helping other couple-preneurs and or aspiring couple-preneurs find their way. That's it. Right? This journey is not for the faint at heart. This is something that is, when we say blood, sweat, and tears, it's literally that, you know, and I think the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it wrapped up together. Yeah. And as we get other guests on the show, this is the kind of stories that we want to be able to talk to you about. We're not interested in the fluffy stuff, you know, because that's just not how it happens. Entrepreneurs are not quote unquote born and all these kind of fancy things that you see sometimes. It's something that you have to grow into. Yeah. It's something that over time, you know, through obstacles, you're going to kind of, what's going to happen is you kind of wake up and you just start realizing that, holy shit, I'm successful. Yeah. You know, when you're really heads down trying to build your path and trying to build your business, it doesn't happen where, okay, first quarter, I'm going to hit these numbers, second quarter, third. It's kind of like I'm running. And then when you look up, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this is happening. I've arrived. Yeah. You know, and that's the point we want to be able to get to as we talk to other entrepreneurs. Cannot wait to talk to more people about this. We really appreciate you all enduring us as we talk to you a little bit about our story. There's a lot more nuggets and things that, you know, we didn't even talk about our book that we wrote in 2014, which we'll get to. But the whole purpose is to teach balance, right? Teach balance between being an entrepreneur and grinding, and also relationships, how to balance that all out and bring it full circle. Absolutely. So if you've got a story to tell, entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, supporting, you know, wife or husband of an entrepreneur, we want to hear your story. Cannot wait to talk to you guys soon. Tune in.
You've been listening to the Couple-preneurs Show. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.kothoughtleaders.com.